What if the most powerful weapons in the world aren't missiles on display or tanks rolling through cities, but instead, aircraft you'll never see, technologies you'll never understand, and programs that don't officially exist? For decades, governments, especially the United States, have been hiding projects so secretive, they're buried beneath layers of classified documents, hidden airstrips in the desert, and billion-dollar budgets that vanish into the shadows. These are the black projects. Top-secret military programs involving next-generation weapons, stealth aircraft, experimental drones, and perhaps even things far stranger than we imagine. We're not talking about sci-fi or conspiracy theories pulled from late-night radio shows. We're talking about real programs, funded with real money, carried out in real places, and designed for real wars. Yet, their details are shrouded in secrecy so deep that even members of Congress are often kept in the dark. The existence of these covert operations first came into the public eye during the Cold War. With tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union rising to dangerous levels, America needed an edge, something that would tip the scales in their favor. The result? Aircraft like the U-2 spy plane and the SR-71 Blackbird, machines that flew so high and so fast, they were virtually untouchable. But even those legendary aircraft were just the beginning. Behind the scenes, the US government was already working on something far more advanced, aircraft invisible to radar, capable of slipping past defenses unnoticed. These weren't just improvements. They were game changers. And they were hidden in the one place designed for secrets, Area 51. But why so much secrecy? Why would a democratic government fund programs that are deliberately kept off the books? The answer lies in a chilling equation: power plus secrecy equals control. If you can control the battlefield without your enemies knowing how, or even that you are attacking, you control the future. In this documentary, we'll uncover the truth behind these hidden operations, how they're funded, what technologies are being developed, and where they might be heading next. We'll explore the rise of autonomous drone warfare, stealth technology so advanced it looks like it came from another world, and whistleblowers who risked their lives to tell the public what's really going on. From the legendary walls of Area 51 to classified airfields hidden deep in deserts and mountains, this is the story of the weapons you were never meant to see, and the programs that define modern warfare without ever showing their face. This is Black Projects, the hidden future of war. Are you ready to see what was never supposed to be seen? To understand how black projects became the backbone of military power, we need to go back to the era that defined global secrecy, the Cold War. The year is 1947. World War II has ended, but a new kind of war is just beginning, a silent, ideological battle between the capitalist West, led by the United States, and the communist East, led by the Soviet Union. Nuclear weapons have changed everything. Suddenly, any misstep could lead to global annihilation. Intelligence gathering becomes not just important, but essential for survival. Enter the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, founded that same year. One of its top missions, finding out what the Soviets were doing, especially in terms of nuclear weapons. But there was a problem: Soviet territory was vast, heavily defended, and closed off. Conventional spying simply wasn't enough. The US needed eyes in the sky. That's when the first real black project was born, the U-2 spy plane. Built in secrecy by Lockheed's Skunk Works division, the U-2 was designed to fly at 70,000 feet, so high that Soviet radar and missiles couldn't reach it, or so they thought. For a few years, the U-2 delivered vital intelligence. Then, in 1960, disaster struck. The U-2 flown by pilot Gary Powers was shot down over Soviet airspace. The illusion of invincibility was shattered. The need for even more advanced technology became undeniable. The response? The SR-71 Blackbird, a sleek, black jet capable of flying over Mach 3, at altitudes above 85,000 feet. Developed in extreme secrecy and using cutting-edge materials like titanium, it could outrun enemy missiles and outfly anything in the sky. It was a masterpiece of stealth and speed. But even that wasn't enough. As radar systems improved, speed and altitude alone wouldn't guarantee survival. The next frontier was stealth, the ability to be seen less, or not at all. This marked a turning point in warfare. In the 1970s, another Skunk Works creation quietly changed everything: the F-117 Nighthawk, the world's first operational stealth aircraft. Its angular, alien design wasn't for show, it was carefully engineered to scatter radar signals. It looked like science fiction, but it was very real. This was the birth of modern black projects. From here, the US began pumping billions into secret programs: unmanned drones, electronic warfare, radar-absorbing materials, next-gen propulsion systems, and experimental aircraft so strange that even today, their missions remain classified. Funding came from the so-called black budget, a pool of money approved by Congress but without public oversight. In some years, this budget exceeded $50 billion, hidden in plain sight. These projects were hidden in isolated desert air bases like Area 51, Tonopah Test Range, and Groom Lake, places not marked on maps, surrounded by fences, guards, and signs that warn, use of deadly force authorized. Over time, rumors began to swirl. Strange lights in the sky, mysterious crashes, and sightings of unidentified flying objects all fed into public speculation. Were these alien crafts? Or were they experimental US aircraft built under ultra-secret programs? The answer, in most cases, was far more grounded, and far more dangerous. These were weapons of war. Invisible. Untraceable. And far ahead of their time. As the Cold War ended, many assumed the need for such secrecy would fade. But instead, it only grew. A new kind of war was on the horizon, one fought not with armies, but with drones, satellites, and cyber weapons. Black projects didn't disappear. They evolved. And in the next part, we'll explore how today's invisible war machine operates, how drones, AI, and space-based systems are shaping the future of warfare, right now, in total secrecy. The battlefield is changing, and it's no longer one of boots on the ground or dogfights in the sky. Welcome to the new era of unmanned warfare, where the most lethal missions are carried out without a human even being present. It began quietly. During the 1990s, the US military introduced an odd-looking, remote-controlled aircraft called the RQ-1 Predator. At first, it was just used for surveillance, flying over enemy territory, gathering live intel without risking a pilot's life. But after 9/11, that role evolved dramatically. The Predator was outfitted with Hellfire missiles. Suddenly, it wasn't just watching targets, it was eliminating them. Without warning. Without trial. With the click of a button from a control room halfway around the world. This marked the rise of armed drones, and it changed the rules of warfare forever. From deserts in Afghanistan to remote villages in Yemen, Pakistan, and Somalia, drone strikes became the new normal. They were precise, fast, and deniable. No boots on the ground. No headlines about fallen soldiers. Just a quiet hum in the sky, and then an explosion. But this wasn't just about firepower. It was about control. Unmanned systems gave the US military the ability to strike anywhere, anytime, often without the host nation's knowledge or approval. It blurred the lines between war and peace, combatants and civilians, state and shadow. Meanwhile, the technology behind these systems advanced rapidly, and secretly. Enter autonomous drones. Unlike their predecessors, these machines don't require real-time human input. They can navigate, surveil, identify targets, and even execute strikes using onboard AI and sensor fusion. Some models are no larger than a suitcase and can operate silently for hours. But here's where it gets darker. Unlike manned aircraft, which require chains of command and human judgment, autonomous systems can act faster than we can think. In future conflict scenarios, AI-driven drones could potentially detect and neutralize threats within seconds, without human approval. The Pentagon calls this algorithmic warfare. And many of these projects are classified. Behind closed doors, US defense agencies are developing swarms of drones, small, intelligent units that can work together to overwhelm air defenses, conduct surveillance, or even sabotage enemy infrastructure. These swarms can communicate in real time, adapt to threats, and make independent decisions. The programs are funded by DARPA, the CIA, and Special Access Programs, SAPs, and tested in facilities like Groom Lake and Dugway Proving Ground, places the public can't access and Congress barely oversees. But what happens when these systems fail? Or fall into the wrong hands? That's the ethical tightrope of modern warfare. Who is held accountable when an autonomous drone makes a mistake? When an algorithm misidentifies a threat? When a covert strike hits civilians? Whistleblowers have come forward, former drone operators describing the psychological toll of killing remotely, the moral ambiguity, the growing disconnect between action and consequence. Meanwhile, new generations of drones like the RQ-180, XQ-58 Valkyrie, and Project Maven's AI-enabled assets continue to evolve. They're faster, stealthier, and more intelligent. Some aren't even aircraft anymore, they're underwater drones, space-based kill switches, and cyber weapons disguised as data packets. In this invisible war, control isn't just about firepower. It's about information, speed, and deniability. The question isn't whether drones will define the next war. It's whether humans will still be the ones deciding how that war is fought. We often hear about defense budgets, congressional debates, and trillion-dollar spending bills. But there's another budget, a hidden one, that even most lawmakers never see. It's called the black budget, and it fuels some of the most secretive and powerful operations on the planet. Each year, billions of US taxpayer dollars disappear into classified programs. No itemized list. No public oversight. Just a single line in a government report, National Intelligence Program, $20 billion. And that's it. In 2013, when Edward Snowden leaked top-secret NSA documents, one of the revelations was the size of the US black budget at the time, over $52 billion annually. That figure likely only includes the intelligence community, excluding military black programs. Some analysts estimate that when you include DARPA, Air Force Special Projects, and other clandestine programs, the real number could be twice as high. But what's that money buying? The answer is both fascinating and terrifying. Black budgets fund stealth bombers that don't officially exist, satellites that can hack foreign networks from orbit, biometric surveillance systems, underwater drones, AI warfare systems, and even research into quantum communication and mind-interfacing weapons. If it sounds like science fiction, that's because much of it was, until now. This is where we enter the realm of special access programs, SAPs. These are projects so sensitive that not even senior government officials are automatically granted access. They're compartmentalized, restricted, and often deliberately hidden under false project names or layered corporate shell companies. Even within SAPs, there are waived and unacknowledged SAPs, USAPs, the blackest of black. In these programs, very few people know the full picture. Congress may approve the funding without knowing what it's for. It's a shadow economy within the most powerful government on Earth. And then there are the contractors, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, Boeing, and lesser-known firms who operate in the shadows. These corporations are handed enormous sums of money to develop systems that may never see the light of day. A former Pentagon official once described it as a parallel defense world. In this world, there are technologies that defy our known laws of physics. Aircraft with zero radar signature. Hypersonic drones that travel so fast they bend atmospheric rules. Directed energy weapons. Projects that make even seasoned intelligence analysts stop and ask, who exactly is in control here? And that's the key question. Who really decides where this money goes? The black budget is beyond audits. The president signs off on its existence, but the details are buried in layers of national security red tape. There is little meaningful oversight. Once the money is allocated, it disappears into what former CIA Director Alan Dulles once described as the wilderness of mirrors. Critics argue that this lack of transparency is dangerous. In the name of national security, entire programs could be operating outside the Constitution, hidden from voters, from courts, even from most of Congress. But defenders say the secrecy is necessary. That in a world of cyber warfare, satellite espionage, and AI-driven weapons, the US must stay 10 steps ahead. And that means developing tools the public isn't ready to know about. So, the next time you hear about a budget shortfall or missing funds in a federal agency, remember, there may be more going on beneath the surface than anyone is willing to admit. Because in the world of black projects, the most important things are the ones we never see. Out in the barren Nevada desert, hidden behind barbed wire, no-fly zones, and intense secrecy, lies a place known by many names: Groom Lake, Area 51, Dreamland. For decades, it didn't officially exist. Maps omitted it. The government denied its presence. And yet, behind those sandblasted mountains, some of the most advanced technologies in human history have taken flight. Originally developed during the Cold War, Groom Lake was a perfect testing ground, remote, dry, and far from public view. It became the birthplace of the U-2 spy plane, SR-71 Blackbird, F-117 Nighthawk, and countless other aircraft we now associate with American dominance in the skies. But for every aircraft that made it to public knowledge, there are whispers of many that didn't. Test pilots, contractors, and former insiders describe strange shapes moving at impossible speeds. Aircraft with no visible propulsion, hovering silently before vanishing into the desert night. There are stories, some credible, others not, of objects that defy gravity, controlled not just by human pilots, but possibly AI or autonomous systems beyond anything officially acknowledged. Satellite images show constant expansion. New hangars, long runways, radar domes, and underground facilities. And it's not just planes anymore. Groom Lake is reportedly used to test directed energy weapons, electromagnetic pulse tech, AI-assisted drones, and even advanced space surveillance systems. So why all the secrecy? The answer lies in what's being protected. Technologies that are years or decades ahead of anything publicly known. Concepts that, if leaked, could compromise national security, or destabilize the public's perception of reality. Some believe Area 51 is a red herring. That it draws attention while the real testing grounds, like Tonopah Test Range, Dugway Proving Ground, or underground sites in Utah or Colorado, conduct even more exotic experiments. But Groom Lake remains iconic because it represents the heart of America's military-industrial secrecy. Even today, commercial aircraft are diverted around it. Employees arrive on unmarked Janet flights from Las Vegas. Armed patrols sweep the perimeter. Cameras scan for any movement. And still, despite modern satellites and social media, almost nothing concrete leaks out. Occasionally, whistleblowers surface, like Bob Lazar, who in 1989 claimed to work on reverse engineering alien spacecraft at a nearby facility known as S4. His claims are controversial, but the reaction from the government, swift denials, increased security, tightened policy, only deepened the mystery. Whether you believe the alien theories or not, one thing is certain: Groom Lake is ground zero for some of the most secretive operations in American history. It is where the line between science fiction and classified reality begins to blur. And where the future of warfare, surveillance, and possibly even space exploration is being forged, hidden in plain sight. For decades, sightings of mysterious objects in the sky were dismissed as fantasy, optical illusions, or fringe conspiracy theories. But today, the narrative has shifted. No longer are these events referred to as UFOs. The US military has rebranded them as unidentified aerial phenomena, unidentified aerial phenomenons, and suddenly, the world is paying attention. Between 2004 and 2021, multiple encounters by Navy pilots surfaced, footage showing fast-moving objects with no visible propulsion, changing direction instantly, and performing maneuvers far beyond the capability of any known aircraft. The Tic Tac incident, filmed by the crew of the USS Nimitz, stunned the defense community. The craft accelerated from 80,000 feet to sea level in under a second and displayed flight characteristics that violate our current understanding of physics. More alarming than the footage itself was the reaction, or rather, the lack of transparency. Pilots were told to remain silent. Reports disappeared. Debriefings were classified. And yet, the Pentagon quietly confirmed the authenticity of the videos. In 2020, the U.S. Department of Defense formed the Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force, and by 2022, it was replaced with a more permanent agency, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO. Its goal? To investigate these phenomena and determine whether they represent foreign adversary technologies, or something else entirely. But this raises a critical question. Are these unknowns actually foreign? Or are they ours, part of advanced black projects still too sensitive to disclose? Some defense insiders argue that what pilots saw weren't alien at all, but rather next-generation experimental craft developed under SAP's Special Access Programs. These vehicles may use anti-gravity propulsion, electromagnetic field manipulation, or even quantum-based control systems, all concepts theorized but never officially acknowledged. Others, including former officials like Luis Elizondo, who headed the Pentagon's secretive OTIP program, suggest something even more mysterious, that these objects operate beyond our current understanding of physics, space, and time. That they could be interdimensional, or even non-human in origin. The U.S. government continues to tread carefully. In heavily redacted reports to Congress, the narrative is vague but telling. Some unidentified aerial phenomenons remain unexplained. Simultaneously, former intelligence and military personnel have come forward as whistleblowers, claiming that non-human craft and even biological entities have been recovered and studied in deeply classified projects. Their stories echo the mythos of Area 51 in Roswell, but now with official hearings, legislation, and public documents behind them. Could it be that decades of sightings and speculation were never about aliens, but about our own secret technology being tested in plain sight? Or, more provocatively, has the U.S. government blurred the line between science fiction and military reality so effectively, that even its own pilots can no longer tell the difference? In either case, the implications are staggering. Unidentified aerial phenomenons challenge our assumptions about security, sovereignty, and science itself. And if they are indeed part of black projects, it means the technological ceiling we've been shown is a deliberate illusion, and the real capabilities of the military are years, if not decades, ahead of what we imagine. In the skies above, the truth remains obscured, not by clouds, but by a wall of secrecy higher than any we've known before. For most of human history, warfare was bound to the earth, across land, sea, and later, air. But today, a new frontier looms, silent and infinite: space. Once the domain of exploration and satellites, space is rapidly becoming the ultimate high ground in the battle for dominance. While the world watches public space agencies like NASA or SpaceX launch rockets and satellites, shadow operations have been underway for decades. Since the 1960s, intelligence agencies and the U.S. military have placed classified payloads into orbit, some of them rumored to be surveillance systems far beyond the capability of civilian satellites. But in recent years, something shifted. The 2019 creation of the U.S. Space Force was not just bureaucratic reshuffling. It was a signal: the United States officially considers space a potential theater of war. But behind that public move are layers of secret operations, cloaked under special access programs, involving weaponized satellites, high-speed spaceplanes, and even orbital defense platforms. One such example is the X-37B, an unmanned spaceplane operated by the U.S. Air Force. Its missions are classified. It can stay in orbit for over 900 days at a time. And no one truly knows what it's doing up there: testing surveillance equipment? Deploying microsatellites? Testing weapons? All we know is that it returns quietly, lands autonomously, and disappears again. Meanwhile, defense contractors are developing systems that sound like they belong in science fiction. 1. Direct energy weapons in orbit. 2. Kinetic kill vehicles capable of disabling satellites without creating debris. 3. Artificial intelligence that can autonomously defend assets in space. But why the secrecy? Because whoever controls space, controls Earth. Satellites are essential for modern life, communications, banking, GPS, military operations. A well-executed strike on a few key satellites could cripple a nation. Thus, nations are racing, not just for exploration, but for space superiority. China and Russia have their own classified programs, and recent reports suggest anti-satellite missile tests and space-based jamming systems. The U.S., predictably, won't admit to weaponizing space. Yet insiders claim otherwise. Former military analysts suggest there are black-budget projects involving 1. Hypersonic space vehicles. 2. Low-orbit weapons platforms. 3. Deep space listening posts. Some believe even lunar operations may be under development, repurposing old Cold War ideas to establish strategic presence on the Moon, not for science, but for surveillance and defense. In classified documents, the term full-spectrum dominance keeps appearing. It means control over all domains: land, air, sea, cyberspace. And now, space. As nations weaponize the heavens, treaties crumble, and secrecy intensifies. What we see is only the surface. Behind it lies a covert arms race far above our heads, shaping the future of warfare in ways the public can't even begin to grasp. Space, once a symbol of peace and progress, has become the final battlefield, and it's already active. As we reach the end of our journey through the world of black projects, stealth technologies, classified aircraft, and space-based warfare, a final and far more personal question remains. What does all of this secrecy mean for the rest of us? For decades, governments, especially the United States, have operated under the belief that some knowledge is too dangerous for the public. Whether it's to maintain a strategic edge, avoid panic, or prevent rivals from gaining insight, these black operations exist outside of democratic oversight. Billions, possibly trillions, of dollars have been spent on projects you will never see, never vote on, and never understand fully. And while secrecy may be necessary for national security, it creates something darker, a parallel world, where accountability disappears and power becomes invisible. This is not science fiction. This is documented. The Pentagon has lost trillions in its budget. Contractors like Lockheed Martin operate entire programs without congressional oversight. And agencies like DARPA, NSA, And the CIA maintain labyrinths of compartmentalized programs, often even hidden from other branches of government. But where does it lead? We're entering an age of unprecedented technological acceleration, AI-guided drones, quantum computing, space warfare, even human enhancement. Yet most of this progress is happening in secret. And when technology advances behind closed doors, the public doesn't get innovation, it gets control. Black projects could one day mean autonomous surveillance from orbit, AI-powered drones capable of silent assassinations, biometric data collected by undetectable devices, and weapons that don't just destroy, but manipulate, all while being completely deniable, and completely untraceable. And here's the chilling truth, the line between national defense and domestic control can blur. Today, technologies developed for foreign surveillance can be turned inward. Drones can monitor protests. Algorithms can profile citizens. Satellites can track every movement, and you'll never know. This raises the ultimate question: who decides how these tools are used? In a world where the military-industrial complex operates in the shadows, and where corporations profit from endless secrecy, the public risks becoming an afterthought in its own future. Yet, there is hope in awareness. History shows that sunlight is the best disinfectant. Whistleblowers, journalists, and open-source researchers have pulled back the curtain time and again. The more we know, the more we can demand accountability. Because in the end, technology is neither good nor evil, it reflects the hands that shape it. So now you know. The sky may be silent, the desert may be empty, the files may be redacted. But the truth is never far. It's just hidden. And maybe, just maybe, it's time to ask: what else are they hiding?